Once upon a time, beneath the ocean bed, in the heart of the deep blue waters, nestled among endless coral gardens and gleaming crystal walls that shone brighter as colorful hues of light beamed down on it, there lay a hidden kingdom, FINKDOM, the jewel of the sea. Its walls, carved from enchanted sea-bright stone, soared high, gleaming like crystal under the golden ocean rays. The coral gardens crowned the city, their colors brighter than rainbows. Treasures from forgotten worlds filled its vaults, and gentle songs traveled through hidden currents. But something unexpected was coming. From distant waters beyond memory, a small glowing creature stirred, the bubblefish, a silent messenger of a forgotten prophecy. It drifted through broken reefs and empty cradles of stone, passed silently through the ancient coral gate, and floated beneath FINKDOM's magnificent golden gate, till it entered into the city, weaving its way unnoticed into the heart of the magical kingdom. At the far edges of the coral gardens, within the golden gates, where younglings played and the currents laughed, swam Tobi, a small puffer fish in a colorful cap. Full of mischief and wonder, he was goofing around playing with bubbles when he spotted the shimmer. The bubblefish floated just ahead, glowing faintly, weaving through the coral.
Wow, what is that?
Without thinking, Tobi followed. He chased it beyond the city walls, through quieter reefs, where the colors faded and the songs grew still. Around a broken ridge, Tobi collided into a shell sitting on a pedestal. As the shell came tumbling down, a golden scroll, pulsing faintly with light, gradually unraveled from inside the shell, floating down under the ocean bed. He watched in amazement as the scroll, glowing with ancient symbols, slipped free into the water. Tobi floated, wide-eyed, as the currents around him rippled with power. He had awakened the first shell scroll. Far above, in the grand palace carved into the highest reef, Queen Bulu, the 16th of the deep blue, ruler of FINKDOM the Great, lay in deep meditation, draped in beautiful, drifting white pearls. She lay still, with both eyes closed. As the ripple brushed against her, her great eyes opened. She had felt it, the stirring of a power older than the kingdom itself. The time had come. She sent for General Kanu, her most trusted warrior, and also sent for Mama J, the ancient seer of the electric tides, and Elder Eche, keeper of the books of prophecy, knowing that destiny could not be trusted to strength alone. Follow the ripple and bring me the shell-born, Queen Bulu commanded, but Kanu, bowing low before the queen, hid darker intentions. Through quiet tunnels and broken reefs, to a place where the water grew cold and the corals lay gray and dying, there, hidden in a cave of gloom, floated Obianuju, beautiful, smooth, and terrible. She had once been one of the 7 keepers of the shell scrolls, a protector of FINKDOM's sacred magic. But fear and greed had turned her heart dark. In secret, she had drawn power from the scrolls to preserve her beauty. But when she was tested and found to be corrupted by vain desires of beauty and a longing for eternal youth, her scroll was taken from her. Then she delved deeper into forbidden magic, turning her hunger to the coral gardens, draining their life force, slowly feeding herself while the kingdom withered. Her lair was heavy with silence and sorrow. Every day she gazed into a jagged magic mirror, searching for flaws, and when even the faintest line dared appear on her face, her rage shook the stones of her lonely cave. Beyond her personal hunger, deeper cracks were growing. The blue whales, ancient rulers of FINKDOM, had long been envied by the proud Manta Lords. Led by Canoe, the Manta Lords whispered of old wrongs, claiming their ancestors had been cheated of the crown. But it was not justice they craved. It was the wealth of FINKDOM, the treasures hidden beneath the golden gates, the vaults built over centuries of magic and mystery. The shell scrolls were more than simple relics. They were the lifeblood of FINKDOM, holding the magic that kept the corals alive, the currents strong, the kingdom flourishing. To claim them was to claim all. Kanu, Obianuju, and the greedy Manta Lords plotted to tear FINKDOM from its ancient heart, not to rule it, but to hollow it out for their own glory. And so the game had begun. The scrolls stirred, destiny awakened, and FINKDOM stood unknowingly at the edge of its greatest trial. Meanwhile, at the Rocky Bed Cake Shop, Auntie Star was in her element, her laughter bubbling like warm waves as she stacked a fresh tray of cupcakes. The frosting shimmered in soft ocean light, and tiny sprinkles danced with each tilt of the tray. Reaching for her piping bag, she began icing the cake, when in came Tobi, holding the scroll. "Auntie Star, Auntie Star, look what I've found," said Tobi, full of excitement, eyes wide, cap slightly askew, as he showed her the scroll, breathless and beaming with a grin. Auntie Star blinked. Then, slowly, she took the scroll for a better look, but as she scanned the ancient markings, Tobi could see her growing unease, her brows furrowed. Suddenly, with shaky hands and without a word, she grabbed a small wooden box from beneath the counter, threw the scroll in, and locked it tight. Putting it away, she asked in a whisper, "Tobi, where did you find this?" But before he could answer, the entrance darkened. General Kanu stepped in. His smile was warm, his tone gentle, but something in his eyes made the ocean feel a little colder. Kanu had followed the magic ripple, trailing it through reefs and silent currents, just before it faded into the deep. It led him right to the Rocky Bed Cake Shop. There he found Tobi and Auntie Star. Stepping into the shop with calm precision, Kanu gave a slow nod, then spoke. "The Queen summons the one who has found the shell scroll." The silence was loud, the currents stilled. Even the frosting seemed to pause. Auntie Star stepped forward, placing herself gently between Tobi and Kanu. She trembled slightly, but her voice was calm. "Tobi's just a child. Surely there's been a mistake." Kanu tilted his head, the corner of his mouth lifted in a polite, practiced smile. "The Queen does not mistake," he said. "She gave the order. I simply followed the ripple." Tobi looked up, eyes wide and uncertain. He didn't speak, but the room felt different now, as if the tide had shifted, and it wasn't turning back. Auntie Star took a breath, deep, steady, her gaze unwavering. "He shouldn't face this alone," she replied, composed but resolute. "If he's going, I'm going with him." Kanu said nothing, but his smile faltered. Tobi looked from one to the other. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but in that moment, he was glad she would be beside him. Familiar with the way to the palace, they swam ahead, as Kanu followed quietly behind. The waters were calm, lined with glowing coral, swaying seagrass and soft, singing currents. But gradually, the coral dimmed, the arches vanished, and the water grew still. Auntie Star glanced back. Then, a sudden shift, a swirl beneath them. Before they could react, a thick sack surged up from below, closing in around them in one swift motion. Auntie Star fought. Tobi cried out, but it was sealed. Darkness. Time passed. How long, they couldn't tell. Then, a loosening. The sack slowly opened, releasing them into open water. They drifted, lightly brushing against a solid surface. Stone. Auntie Star stirred. Then Tobi. They rose slowly, eyes adjusting to the dimness. No palace lights, no flowing banners, no sound, only rock, rough, silent. The space felt wrong. They turned slowly, tension rising with every breath. Auntie Star's voice broke the silence, measured, unsure. "Where are we?" A ripple moved through the shadows. Then a shape, gliding, graceful. But it wasn't the queen. It was Obianuju. Inside Queen Bulu's grand palace, luminous, regal, with flowing bioluminescent strands, magnificent pillars, and shimmering currents casting light patterns across the walls. The water was heavy with tension. Mama J stood at the center of the chamber, her eyes narrowing with knowing. Her voice, steady but urgent, broke the silence. "It has begun. The Shellborn has found the first scroll." I felt the ripple, old magic, stirring. Across the room sat Elder Etche, keeper of the books of prophecy. Wise and gentle, he had remained silent until now. Reaching into the folds of his robe, he brought forth an ancient tome, the Book of the Shellborn, its cover worn smooth by time and water. He opened the book, and in a voice that seemed to echo across generations, he read, "When danger looms unnoticed, and the magic silently withers, the bubblefish, messenger of the scrolls, shall journey into FINKDOM, to reveal he who was born, to unlock the shells, and restore peace and balance to FINKDOM, not by strength, but by truth, wisdom, and courage." The words drifted like currents through the chamber, wrapping around Queen Bulu where she sat, unmoving, as though seeing far beyond the palace walls. "The Book of the Shellborn," Mama J continued, her voice steady, echoing softly through the golden chamber, "was not penned in one age nor by one hand. It was shaped through time, gathered, guarded, and passed on by the ancient seers of FINKDOM, each adding their visions, their warnings, their wisdom. But not even they could say when the prophecy would unfold. Long before you sat upon the throne, Your Majesty, your father ruled with clarity and caution. When it was revealed that Obianuju, one of the 7 keepers of the shell scrolls, had fallen to corruption, it was I who uncovered the truth. Grieved but resolute, your father called upon the remaining 6 keepers, and I. Together we cast a powerful binding spell. All 7 scrolls were sealed away, hidden across the realm. The scrolls were not meant to be handled lightly, nor to be guided by vain desires, greed, or pride. They were sealed not just with magic, but with purpose. For if misused, lost, or destroyed, FINKDOM itself would unravel. The sea would dim, the vaults would open or be sealed forever, and every soul loyal to the throne would fall into an eternal sleep. The prophecy tells us, when the first scroll appears, it will answer the Shellborn's call, and the others will follow, not by force, not by spell, but by destiny. So let no one doubt what stirs in the tides. The time we feared may already be upon us. Back in Obianuju's gloomy cave, Tobi and Auntie Star sat frozen in fear as she glided closer, silent, elegant, and menacing. A low giggle stirred the air. From a shadowy corner behind them, Kanu sat watching, half shrouded in darkness, his eyes glinting faintly as if amused by their panic. Obianuju stood before them with a fixed gaze. When she spoke, her voice slid through the silence like cold silk. "Now, tell me," she purred, circling them, "which of you carries the spark? Which one bears the mark of the Shellborn?" Tobi's throat clenched. Auntie Star lowered her gaze. Neither moved. The silence thickened, sharp with dread. From the shadows, Kanu chuckled softly, the dim rays catching the gleam in his eyes. "It seems to be the cute little inflatable one," he said, his voice soaked in mockery. Obianuju turned, not with surprise, but with slow, delighted amusement. Her eyes scanned Tobi as if he were nothing more than a joke wrapped in trembling fins. "You?" she echoed, the word thick with disbelief. A beat passed, then she laughed, loud, sharp, curling through the cave like a rising storm. "Oh, I do love a good joke, but even for you, Kanu, that one's cruel. Be nice to our guests." She glided in a slow circle around them, her smile widening, her eyes glinting with something colder than cruelty. Then her voice dropped, lower. "I don't care for the riches of FINKDOM, but Kanu here and the Manta Lord seem to fancy that. For years, I've lived all alone in this miserable cave, caring only for the scrolls, to keep me forever beautiful and ageless." She raised one hand, fingers glinting. At the snap of her fingers, a massive bubbling cauldron seated over a flame appeared near the far wall, rising from nothing. It was ringed with green steam and burbled with thick, glowing liquid, alive with years of whispered incantations. Obianuju glided toward it slowly, her gaze fixed, her voice nearly a whisper. Running a finger around the rim with a sinister smile, she said, "The scrolls are the final ingredient for this pot of beauty potion. Years of patience, years of preparation, and now, with the scrolls and just one dip, I will never fade." She hovered above the cauldron, steam curling around her. Her reflection shimmered in the swirling surface. Eternal beauty, eternal power, forever mine. Obianuju drifted forward, her voice a dagger cloaked in velvet. She hovered before Tobi, gaze unblinking, lips curved in quiet cruelty. "Shellborn! Hand me the first scroll and summon the rest, so I can throw them all into this bubbling cauldron and have my wish." The cavern stiffened. Tobi's fins trembled against his side, the weight of her demand pressing into his spine like stone. "But that will undo everything," Auntie Star said, her voice barely rising above a whisper. She didn't lift her head, didn't meet Obianuju's eyes. Her gaze was fixed on the cavern floor, as if hoping it would swallow her words before they reached the wrong ears. Obianuju laughed. It was not joy, it was hunger, a gleeful sound that rolled across the cavern like broken bells. She turned to Auntie Star, her eyes gleaming. "I couldn't care less if the whole of FINKDOM sleeps forever," she said. "Loyalty to the throne of FINKDOM is foolishness." Then, snapping back to Tobi, her voice sharpened, "Give it to me now." But Tobi didn't move. His voice cracked like a seashell under pressure. I don't have the scroll," he said, barely audible. The silence that followed was thick, pulsing. Obianuju's eyes narrowed. The calm in her face dissolved, and in its place, storm. "What do you mean you don't have it?" Her voice, once smooth and silken, now sliced like sharpened coral. "Where is it, boy?" Her tentacles curled tighter, coiling through the water like angry roots. A surge of dark energy pulsed around her as the cave trembled. The water itself seemed to pause, as if the deep held its breath, in anticipation of the fury that was to come, because without the first scroll, the others could not be summoned, and the path remained sealed. In a flash, Obianuju lunged at Tobi, eyes wild, lips curled, a tempest carved in bone and magic. Tobi swelled in terror, his small body ballooning into a spiny globe, his golden spikes bristling like warning lights in the dark. Obianuju's hand met his defenses, a sharp snap, then a hiss. She recoiled, her fingers streaked with glowing pinpricks. "Ah!" she snarled, the sound ripping through the water like a curse. Auntie Star didn't wait. "Run, Tobi!" He deflated just enough to twist and dart away. Auntie Star followed, fast, frantic, fierce. Behind them, Obianuju clutched her hand, writhing in pain and disbelief. "Kanu!" she roared, and from his dark, shadowy corner, the manta moved, chasing after Tobi and Auntie Star as they fled. The walls of the cave blurred, currents howled, the sea narrowed into a tunnel of escape and fury.